Good evening, friends. Welcome. My name is Brahmachari Gaurav, and with me this evening is Brahmachari Devendra, and we are very happy to be here with you sharing the wisdom, daily wisdom from the Autobiography of a Yogi app. And we will be, as always, we will be doing some chanting today. Then we'll lead a guided meditation, and then after that we will be sharing from that app some phrases of wisdom from the Autobiography of a Yogi. So we'll start today this evening with a few chants. Yogananda ji said chanting is half the battle. On the spiritual path, we are not just approaching the divine journey with our minds, with our intellect, but we are trying to open our heart, trying to feel more, and God is a feeling, Swami Kriyananda once said. So it is very important to be open, be receptive, and try to feel God. And so before we go into meditation, before we feel Him, we awaken that feeling through chanting. So we'll do that today using these very simple chants from Swami Kriyananda and Yogananda ji, and then we'll go into our meditation. So please feel free to join. We'll repeat the words of these chants so you can follow along as best as you can. This first chant, the words are simple. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come? Just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Calling to the divine, calling to God, that our hearts are open, receptive to your presence. Come, change us, bless us with your presence.
wide I keep for thee.
thou come, wilt thou come, just for once unto me? Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once unto me? Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once unto me? Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once unto me? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Let's offer a prayer together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Friend, Beloved God, Great Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, Saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Be with us this evening, guide us with your presence, help us go deep in this path. We want to know truth. Guide us. We want to be one with you. Be with us now. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Joy, 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 ever new joy. God is described as ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss, ever new joy. Joy that satisfies every human hope, every desire, and fulfills us to no end. So we want to feel that joy, but in order to do that, we call on that joy. Make it a reality in our lives, even right now. ever new joy, 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 ever joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new 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 joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, 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 ever new joy, joy. This next chant is dedicated to Divine Mother, written by Paramahansa Yogananda ji. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother,
Divine Mother, my Divine Mother, engrossed is the bee of my mind. On the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother, engrossed is the bee of my mind. The blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, 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 my Divine Mother, engrossed is the bee of my mind. On the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother, engrossed is the bee of my mind. On the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother, Divine Mother, 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 Divine Mother, my 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 Divine Mother. Let's now meditate. Sit upright, keeping your back straight, chin parallel to the ground, palms facing upward. And let's prepare ourselves for meditation. Inhale and tense the whole body with a double breath. Gathering all the tension, vibrating the body. Exhale and relax. Now next time, take the breath gradually and gradually tensing the body low, medium and high. Slowly doing it as slow as possible. Don't do it in a hurry. Do it very gradually and relax the body again. Very gradually relaxing and exhaling slowly and gradually. So let's do it again. Inhale and tense. Gathering all the tension, vibrating the body. Exhale and relax. Gradually relaxing the tension. Completely relaxing. Relaxing all the muscles in the body. And one last time, inhale and tense. Gradually inhaling and tensing. Exhale and relax. Complete relaxation. If you like, practice a pranayam for about 6 rounds. Even count breathing, alternate nostril breathing. And then begin to meditate. We'll meditate for about 10 minutes. Practice any technique of meditation, of doing the pranayam, Hangsa, or even if you are a Kriya initiate, Kriyaban, do few Kriyas also, that is also fine. So let's practice, let's do some pranayam and then begin to practice some meditation. Once you finish this pranayam, practice the meditation technique and spend some time enjoying the after effect of the technique in the silence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Good evening, friends. Welcome to this evening of Autobiography Yogi Daily Wisdom webinar. My name is Brahmachari Devendra, and I'll be sharing with you with Brahmachari Gaurav from the app. This app is called Autobiography Yogi Daily Wisdom, and you can download in your phone from Google Play Store and read the apps of the lines from Autobiography Yogi every day. So what we do, if you're new to this webinar, what we do in this webinar, every alternate Fridays we present this webinar, we share Yogananda ji's wisdom, and we share few of the lines from Autobiography Yogi. So today is the Friday, so a week from before and week from now, those 14 days, we will cover some of those lines from Autobiography Yogi. And so today is May 3rd, and I have chosen a few days before the May 3rd, the line from Autobiography Yogi. I have chosen the line which is for April 30th. And here, this is from chapter 14, and Swami Shri Yukteswarji writes, the chapter is An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness. He says, one might have the whole universe and find the Lord elusive still. Spiritual advancement is not measured by one's outward powers, but only by the depth of his bliss in meditation. I would like to read it again. Please listen carefully. One might have the whole universe and find the Lord elusive still. Spiritual advancement is not measured by one's outward powers, but only by the depth of his bliss in meditation. So there are a couple of things Yogananda said, that two contrary different things. One thing is that one can have everything in the universe, and as we grow spiritually, we do develop powers, and that can be very elusive. That can take us away from the spiritual path. When Yogananda went to America, he went for a mission, and he said that if I wanted to attract crowd, I could attract millions by displaying my powers. But God did not want me to do that. And he said that I prefer a soul over a crowd, and I would like to present a bouquet of souls to my father, to my mother, to my heavenly father and mother, to God. And so Yogananda had power, but he never displayed outwardly to attract people, just to make a good following of the people. When he came to India in 1935, and he was passing through a street, and there was a crying happening in a house, and he asked the people around that house, Yogananda asked people around the house what happened, and the people told him that, oh, somebody died in the house. And Yogananda went to that house, and he said all of the people in the room where the person was dead, he said that everybody out of this room, and he brought that person. Few moments later, he opened the door and he brought the person from death to life. That person who was dead few moments back, he was alive. Years later, Dr. Lewis, Yoganandaji's disciple, asked Master Yoganandaji, why did you go to that home? And because you wanted to go to that home? And Yoganandaji replied, no, because God asked me to do so. I did not go because just I wanted to do so. And God asked me to do so, so that's why I helped that person, and I brought that person from death to life. And we don't know the reason why exactly that person was brought back to life, but of course there must be some reason. And you could think that Yoganandaji had that power, and but did he display? He just went around and said that, okay, this person is dead, let me bring this person from death to life. And slowly he said that, he would say that, okay, now nobody in this world will be dead because I have the power to make everybody from death to life. Did he do that? No. He had that power, but he never displayed it. He performed those miracles, he performed those powers only at the command of the divine. And there are so many stories in Autobiography Yogi. One famous story of Afzal and that who would call this fellow and he would perform miracles, but you could see that in Autobiography Yogi that he was still elusive. His master came, his guru came, and then he woke him up, this fellow, Hazrat, and this fellow Afzal. And then this fellow Afzal says that when his guru woke him up from this delusion of the powers, he says that I'm going back to my divine, by going back to my beloved. I'm going to spend my time in the Himalayas now. So this can happen also. And Master says here in the last line that the spiritual advancement is measured by the depth of bliss and meditation. Of course, as we begin to meditate, nobody begins to feel the bliss. But what happens that different things can happen. As we begin to meditate, we begin to feel peaceful. The first thing can happen that we begin to feel peaceful. The next thing can happen that our reactions to our life can be very, very little. The way we were reacting before, it will not be anymore. Our understanding of the people, it can improve. That Swamiji defines how maturity, what is maturity? He says that maturity is when we understand people as they are, not as we think. So that can begin to happen. So this is the you can say that directional thing, that how when we grow spiritually, this is what going to happen. That we begin to become peaceful. Reactions becomes less. Our desires becomes less. Our desire for worldly things, attachments becomes less and less. And to more extent, what will happen? Our love for God, our love for spiritual development will begin to grow more stronger and stronger. And then as we can see that as these things are happening, we'll begin to feel more joy, more bliss. And then as Master says here in this last line, that the depth of meditation is measured by the bliss in meditation. And lastly, we can say that when Sister Gyanamata, Yoganandaji's most advanced disciple, she was leaving her body, and what word she said? She said that too much joy, too much joy. She could not even take it, that she was going in the bliss, that finally when she was being liberated, she was leaving the body in bliss, in divine, and she was saying too much joy, I cannot take it. And that is what Master is saying, that finally the yogi begins to live in the bliss, in the divine joy. That of course this does not come in the beginning, but it comes as we grow deep and deep in meditation, as we grow deeply, begin to become deeply spiritual. We'll begin to feel that joy, that bliss that we cannot leave, and it will be with us for all the time. But yes, in the beginning, it will happen slowly, and slowly.
So friends, the next phrase I want to read from the autobiography is again from that chapter, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness. And these are again the words of Yoganandaji's guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. And he says, "How quickly we weary of earthly pleasures. Desire for material things is endless. Man is never satisfied completely and pursues one goal after another. The something else he seeks is the Lord, who alone can grant lasting joy." So a beautiful passage, and if you take it literally, of course, it is very apparent if we are of an introspective nature, and we have gone through enough life experience, I think we dimly begin to suspect that something is off, something is being withheld from us, some secret, some mystery, because after going through enough life experiences, we find, that nothing really ever works, everything has a catch to it, or everything, has a conditions apply tag next to it, or, it's time bound. that none of the things outside ourselves, whether it is people or circumstances or, sense pleasures, none of them give us eternal happiness that our souls are really looking for. And so what he's saying here is that how quickly we weary of earthly pleasures. If you are sensitive, you discover that. And man is never satisfied completely. And he, in that maddening rush of seeking, because the soul really, why do we keep seeking one thing and then the next and then the next? Because our soul really is looking for ultimate happiness, for that bliss, that joy, which it knows exists somewhere, but because it doesn't know yet where it is to be found, it looks for it outwardly. So, on one level, we can sympathize with others and ourselves when we go through that. But there is a deeper science to this. And, when I first learned of this, it was kind of like a light bulb went off in my brain. And you read this, and this is the beauty of yogic science, that it doesn't just give you philosophy and tells you, oh, don't run after endless desires, happiness is not to be found there, it is to be found in God. No, the yogic science tells you why not, how, and there it's just so fascinating, so reassuring how it works. So regarding this matter of desires, when I first read this, and I want to share this now, that why is it one that we keep going after desires, we keep thinking that our fulfillment lies outside ourselves continually, even if someone has told us, a million times, no, it does not lie outside you, it lies within, go within, seek God, seek the divine. Still, we find against our own higher nature, our energy is always going outside. And the reason yogis say that this happens is that each one of us, there are three nerve channels that we have, and they are called the Ida, the Pingala, and the Sushumna. The Ida is, and these are astral channels, you can say currents. The Ida on the left, the Pingala on the right, and you can think of the Sushumna as being in the center of our, astral spine. And the yogis say that energy or prana, which, they say it is always moving up and down. It goes up through the Ida and it comes down through the Pingala. And you might be like, why is he talking about that? The reason I am, because it is very closely related to every moment of our life. They say that when prana moves up the Ida in the spine, it actually causes inhalation. The breath, the inhalation is caused by energy moving up the spine, and energy moving down the spine again through the Pingala causes us to exhale. And this cycle continues on and on and on. But then this cycle is also related to our mental state. It is said when we inhale, when the energy moves up the spine, we inhale. But it is related to life-affirming attitudes. When you are happy, what do? You inhale, you inhale, you feel good. Why do you feel good? Yes, the breath has come in, but also because the energy is moving up. And in that instance, somewhere you recognize that is the general direction where your happiness lies, which is to say that if you want to feel happy, instinctively it has to be an upward surge of energy. And the breath does that, but the energy also does that. And the opposite is also true. When you're feeling unhappy, when you're feeling down, you exhale. But as yogis, we know that exhalation is caused by that energy going down in the Pingala. So the wise yogi finally figures it out that if we want to be happy, we want that energy to be moving up and not actually to come down. We want it to just keep moving up and up. And it is said enlightenment, divine, you can say, accomplishment is reached when the energy, that prana, that life force, moves from the base of the spine all the way to the top of the brain, which is the positive pole. And when all our energy moves there, then we find God, we find eternal happiness, eternal fulfillment. We don't need to seek anything outside of ourselves then. So you see what happens in life, that when we think of a desire, and that energy is linked to our likes and dislikes. When we think of a desire, let's say an ice cream cone, that thought of the ice cream comes to your mind, and what is your instinctive reaction if you happen to like ice cream? you think, I like that ice cream. When you think, I like that ice cream, when you like anything, that energy in the ida moves up the spine. You inhale perhaps, you affirm that you like that ice cream, and so the energy moves up and you feel happy. Isn't it true? You actually feel that. It's not just mental, because the energy has risen. But the unfortunate thing is that if that energy could keep moving up, up and up, that would be great. But it goes up, but then it goes out through the senses into reaching out for that ice cream, and in that way that energy is dissipated, and then it is followed by a down. We want to learn how to keep our energy always moving up, and not by fulfilling outward conditions, not by externalizing that, but just keeping the energy moving up. And this is the fascinating thing about yoga. It gives us those tools, it gives us those techniques, whether it's yoga postures, even a simple yoga posture like the inverted pose, that actually has for its purpose to have the energy, that same energy, to move up towards the brain when we are in an inverted posture. And simply by doing that, you feel good. Why? Because the energy is moving up the spine. By chanting, we try to awaken devotion in the heart. You don't need to fulfill it outwardly. You chant when you love something deeply. The energy starts moving up the spine towards the brain. In meditation, why do we concentrate at this point? Again, to keep the energy moving up. And so, through these direct ways, we try and we have our energy moving up, because it is very difficult to control those individual likes and say, I won't eat that ice cream, I won't do that, I won't have those desires. They will continue. As long as we have energy, energy will either want to go somewhere. So what we can do as wise yogis is to have that energy go directly towards our brain. And that is where, as he says finally, that something else he seeks is the Lord, who alone can grant lasting joy. God is joy, but that joy from a yogic perspective is reached when that energy meets, you can say, becomes single-pointed. When it reaches the top of the brain, it automatically, scientifically gives that experience of joy. And so, as much as you can do outwardly, but if you can have this inner understanding always that, it is not this thing that is bringing me happiness, it is that energy that moves up when I like something that brings me happiness. And so what can I do to make that energy keep going up and up through devotion, through prayer, through love, through technique? And then all these outer things will cease to have their power, their grasp over you. And in that way, we can begin to master this process.
So let's take the next line, which is May 8th. I have taken, and I will read a couple of them actually. And here, Shri Yukteswarji again in chapter 15, he's talking about intuition, and the chapter is Cauliflower Robbery. So here, the May 8th, Shri Yukteswarji says, intuition is soul guidance appearing naturally in man during those instants when his mind is calm. Nearly everyone has had the experience of an inexplicably correct hunch, or has transferred his thoughts effectively to another person. Now the next May 9th is also on the same line, and here he says, the human mind, free from the static restlessness, can perform through its antenna of intuition all the functions of complicated radio mechanisms, sending and receiving thoughts and tuning out undesirable ones. As the power of radio depends on the amount of electrical current it can utilize, so the human radio is energized according to the power of will possessed by each individual. So there are a few things here that Yogananda-ji or Shri Yukteswarji is explaining. Primarily he's talking about the intuition, and as he says here, intuition is the soul guidance. Most of us, as we are functioning in our daily life, how do we function? We function from our senses. We have the more body awareness, and we function from the senses. And as we meditate, as we withdraw our energy, our consciousness from the senses, go within, go within to our astral body, to the causal body, and go deep at our soul consciousness, we begin to function at a different level, which is called the intuition. That meaning, as the awareness of the soul, that as we go deeper, the soul, the power of the soul takes over the senses, and we begin to perceive things at a much more different level. And so this is called the intuition. Intuition is the knowing, the power of the soul, which is unlimited. Senses are limited, uh, but the intuition is unlimited. We can perceive anything, or anything we can perceive in this universe. Just as I was saying before, that the goal of life is to live in the bliss. And as we withdraw our attention from sense consciousness to soul consciousness, intuition, where do we function? We function at the level of the intuition, that we simply know anything in this universe without analyzing it, without thinking about it. We function at a much more different level. And how do we develop intuition? Here, Yogananda says that as we calm our mind, as we take out all the static restlessness from our mind, we begin to develop the intuition. And he says also that once in a life, here and there, everybody must have had a sense of hunch, and which comes correct, which comes real in our life. We don't know how it comes, but sometime it has come. Sometime in the dream also we perceive things, and it comes true in the life. And this is somehow that power of the soul, it begins to function. And maybe in the dream, maybe in the real life, it happens. So the question comes that how do we function? How do we develop our intuition? So let's think for a moment. Here Yogananda ji has given a line. He says that as the power of radio depends on the amount of electrical current it can utilize, so the human radio is energized according to the power of will possessed by each individual. So he's comparing the electrical current in the radio and the electrical current in the human body, and he's comparing with the will in the human body, in the human mind. There is an axiom which Yogananda ji has given, which he didn't mention, but of course he is referring to. He said that the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. So the greater the flow of energy, as we have, of course, as if we compare ourselves to the radio, we have the deeper power of the you can say that electrical current flowing in our human body, the deeper power is possessed by us, and so the intuition is developing. Now let's relate also to the meditation. There's a definition of meditation which you can say meditation is a conscious act of will. It's not something passive. We are applying our will in meditation, of course with the opening of the heart also. So definitely we are using our power of the will when we are meditating. So as we meditate, our power of the will is developing. As we are developing our power of the will, the flow of energy in our body, in our physical, in the astral body is increasing. And as this is increasing, our intuition is increasing. Master Yogananda said that. He said that one thing is, if you want to develop your intuition, he said that after meditation, after practicing the technique of meditation, sit for a long time. Sit for a long time after practicing the technique of the meditation. And that is when your intuition is developing. So after practicing the technique of meditation, when you calm your mind, what is happening? That power of the soul is... We are functioning at the deeper level, at the power of the soul. And so this is the time when we are developing our intuition. And this is also a good time, Master Yogananda said that, this is also a good time to pray. Now when we calm our mind, when we calm our mind, after calming the mind, after meditation, is good time to pray also, because the power of the prayer is 100 times more than when we are praying restlessly. Swami Kriyananda has written a book called Intuition for Starters. So if you like to read more about the intuition, what is intuition and how to develop it, I would recommend to read that book. But in this short time, I could just explain that much. What is intuition and how to develop it.
So this is our last stanza for today. Again from the chapter, The Cauliflower Robbery. And Sri Yukteswar says here, divine contemplation must not be made an excuse for material carelessness. It's a funny stanza, and this happens, and I think he comments that because one day when they are going out of the ashram, Sri Yukteswar along with Yogananda and other disciples, Yogananda ji forgets to lock the ashram gate, and they come some distance, and then Yukteswar ji asks him, did you lock the gate? And Yogananda ji, sort of is like thinking about it, and he says, I think I forgot. And then Yukteswar ji, singles that out, and he said, you must be punished. And he's half joking, but he's half serious. And then, of course, Yogananda ji's prized cauliflowers, which are in the ashram, are stolen because of that. But it's interesting to know that, it is not a very big, you can say, grave error that he made. But Sri Yukteswar ji nevertheless singled it out, and it is good for us to ponder why. Because, he was making this important point, which sometimes people, when they come on the spiritual path, they can have a very wrong notion that, oh, I am spiritual, or I have embarked on the divine search, and thus these other preoccupations or, concerns or worldly affairs, they shouldn't bother me. Why must I bother with them? I am on this other pathway. And Yukteswar ji here is making it very clear that one cannot be an excuse for not doing the other. So he is saying that in fact, if you are materially careless and you happen to be on the spiritual path, then in fact he's implying that your divine contemplation is also not of the proper manner, which is to say, because if you really ponder upon it, God is perfection itself. The divine, is running this universe and multiple universes with, such immaculate perfection. The planets don't bump into each other. The galaxies are running smoothly. So if he is perfection himself, then how can he expect that anyone who is in tune with him, the devotee, the yogi, how can other areas of that person's life, run just haphazardly and making mistakes and, these sort of things? No, because when inwardly we are perfecting ourselves, contemplating, focusing on the divine, if that really is becoming, manifest in our lives truly, properly, then our outward life in all its details and ramifications has to reflect that. You see, here at the monastery, I happen to do accounting. Brahmachari Devendra leads a meditation group in Ahmedabad. We have monks, who are making this webinar happen possible, recording it, editing it, uploading it. Now, all of these are detailed things. If we were to say, oh, we are monks and we have gone away from the world, and why must we bother with this? None of this would happen. It would all crumble upon our heads. If I say, oh, doesn't matter if some more money goes to that vendor, or, if the bills are paid on time or not. Well, the internet wouldn't be there right now if we had that attitude. No, it has to be an effortless harmony. We have to inwardly be very alert, keen in our divine search, but then our outer life has to reflect that. Carelessness has no place in the divine scheme of things. And in fact, that harmony, when it comes forth, everything in our life goes smoothly, must go smoothly. So if you sometimes fall into that trap, watch yourself and come back to that understanding that something is off, and let me work on that. So with that, friends, we will conclude this evening. It was a joy sharing with you, and we'll see you very soon, another Friday, same time, sharing this wisdom from the Autobiography of a Yogi. Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.